All right, everybody. We are just randomly live at Greedo's Goldmine, seeing who, if anybody, pops into the chat. It's New Year's Eve over here, so our drink of choice is Pepsi. So that one kind of goes back to an honor to my mom. She was a Pepsi drinker, and always when we do a friend of offerings on special holidays or days of the week, or year, like New Year's Day was a big one for her. She'd always call it midnight, my time or hers, whichever one happened based on uh, their plans. But this year we left some Pepsi, and I'll enjoy her favorite candy and pop out, and the rest is ours, of course. So Slancha, it's not champagne, it's not whiskey, it's not anything alcoholic. It's just like CM Punk, I suppose. Um, all we have is our little vaporizable nicotine thing, which is allowed over here. But I guess our friends hydroxychloroquine, Zyprexa, and Depakote. We actually just got a fresh prescription of hydroxychloroquine, a nice huge bottle that cost us $60. So there's more money out the drain, thanks to health. But yeah, we'll see how this goes for an hour or so and learn how this works in the process again. See if anybody pops into the chat, anybody's even watching. I don't really know. How do I follow it? Is it with the top? This is going to be one of those train wrecks in slow motion, but we don't really have much else to do tonight. Basically, the way the family arrangements are with my children. So we're here, might as well. And, maybe we'll review, since this video is not for kids, for anybody who is a nicotine enthusiast, what a Blue Raz Ice Geek Bar is like. It's kind of delicious, unfortunately. Yeah. I got somebody in here. So we're just doing a random, you guys guide it kind of night here at Greedo's Goldmine for our second live ever. I think the first one was when we had our lupus flare up that went psychiatric, and believed that, among other things, our apartment was being raided by somebody, or at least attacked. That was a fun part of the year highlights. I mean, and maybe that's what we should go through on this one, this live. What were the highlights of the year up and down, and maybe even talk about a couple of the toys that we still have. We've been doing a lot of downsizing and selling of our collectibles. Oh, there we go. The chats are going. Am I into Lego sets? Hi, how's it going there? Happy New Year's, everybody. Lego sets. Yeah, I do have a Lego Viking set, and my kids had a fair deal of Lego Disney stuff that is in the process of being transitioned back over to them in mom's house at this point. But yeah, I would love to get a couple more Lego sets if everything works out. Like the Pyramid of Giza one has always been on my mind. What's up? That one makes me laugh, but what's going on, Captain Savage? How you doing there? Happy New Year. Wasn't expecting that one. But yeah, we could talk about the year's highlights tonight, what we've been excited about collection wise over the year. How many subs I got? 338 or something like that last time I checked. Happy New Year's, Connor Wade official. Hello, Paul. Happy New Year's, Brandy. All right, this is actually working out. So yeah, just figured we'd do a random live over here, see what was going on with everybody, and kind of let you guys really guide this one. I don't know exactly the Flintstones complete series on Blu-ray. That sounds amazing. I have not watched the Flintstones since I was a kid, but I remember it. We used to take these trips to Minnesota as a family every year. And one of the highlights was the hotel had Cartoon Network, and the Cartoon Network, from what I remember, had Flintstones, Scooby Doo, and all these things that we didn't have where we grew up. And I would completely take advantage of that every minute possible. That's a really good one. Happy New Year's on that note. The Flintstones. Wow, it's been a while. I can remember too when I was a kid. I can't remember exactly what year, but they did a live action of it as well, and I was pretty into that too, being that I was into the cartoon. What's going on, Giovanni? Happy New Year's. How you guys doing? So yeah, what do you guys want me to talk about at this point? Highlights of the year, what we're collecting or what we were collecting, what we've gotten rid of recently, what we've been up to. There's a whole bunch of different things we could go on. The highlights of the year live from Greedo's Goldmine. It's been a hell of a year on this side. We've experienced about every up and down you possibly can, especially over the last month. Gen Z is almost 30 years old. Damn. Gen Z, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm a little older than that at this point. I'm at more of the 37 range. So I'm not sure. Is that Gen Z even anymore? Which one is that? I really don't know at this point. Feel like it's almost Gen X, Gen Y border for me. Yeah, Gen Z's starting to get older. That means we're old too, right? KC 154. That's funny. We got a like from one of those comments. Yeah, this one's gonna be off the rails, but we're not really drinking too much, so we're all good on that front. Tonight is sponsored partly by, well, not sponsored by. I'm consuming Pepsi tonight. I was saying it's in honor of my mom. She was a Pepsi drinker, and New Year's was always one of her favorite things, just the whole holiday season, really. And so on New Year's Eve, among other days, I like to leave a shot of Pepsi and her favorite candy, an almond joy, out, and then I'll drink the rest of it. So Gen Z is late 90s okay. Okay, yeah, that's well past my time. I was more like that late 80s, 87 specifically. Gen Z. Okay, 96 to 2912. Oh, wow, you're going well into the future. I love that one. No, that was epically good. I appreciated the humor in it. I would have gone with that one for sure. Can you imagine in 2912 what the generation's gonna be like at the current progression we're going in? We live in a weird, interesting world these days. I'm not sure it always makes sense, but at least to me it doesn't. I don't, you tell me. 2012. Okay. So then KC154, inform me on this one because I don't know enough about the generation labels at this point. This is going to be a fun random one. What is the one that comes after 2012? What is that called at that point? What is the newest generation? Is that just millennials as a whole, or I don't know. That's a great question. This is one of those where I'm learning from you guys as the live goes on. Actually, I think every 15 years, okay, is a new generation. KC154. Nice. Thank you for that. I love learning new things like that. Okay, so every 15 years. So then technically, I guess Gen Y would be the one that I'm part of. Hmm, that might make some sense. I don't know. I just remember the 90s growing up in America, and it was pretty amazing by all comparisons. What's my favorite wrestler? Mick Foley. Doesn't matter which one of his particular characters, but definitely Mick Foley. Probably a tie with The Undertaker. Those were, excuse me, guys. Those were the two that I was really big into as a kid. Still to this day on my collection shelf. You don't see the wrestlers so much; they're off to the side over there. But the wrestlers, there's a ton of Mick Foley and The Undertaker on that display. Mick Foley's got his own shelf, in fact, and Undertaker takes up the entire rim of everything going on. It's yeah, that one's a pretty no brainer for me, at least on that one. I always liked the cage match that they were in together. That was one of my favorite wrestling moments watching on pay per view as a kid. Between Mick Foley going through the top of the cage and then also just getting thrown off the cage that one time, right into the announcer's booth, and then I'm pretty sure if I remember everything right, his tooth came through his nose. It was pretty brutal. That guy could take a lot of pain and suffering, so you have to give him some pretty mad respect. Plus, he's from Indiana, like myself, technically. If you look up his background, I don't think he lived there his whole life, but he was at least born in the southern part of the state, and that one helps too, just a home connection. Modern wrestler, though, that's another good question. Who would be my favorite modern wrestler? Um, I mean, I'm always a fan of CM Punk, of course. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins both can put on a good show. I mean, there's a lot of just solid wrestlers in the modern generation. It's kind of it's good again, which is nice. I really appreciate where things have been going over the last couple years, especially having kids. It's been something that I've been able to share with them as a fan as well, and just watching them get inspired by the new ones. Gunther's a big one in our household. My son's a huge fan of Gunther, so definitely have a couple of his figures. I think there's only two of them out, right? Or maybe three, but we have two of them. I got the Ultimate Edition this year for him. So that one got packed up recently when I was going through everyone's stuff, what goes over to their house now and what stays with me, or depending on what happens with Greedo's Goldmine altogether, just disappears at that point. Edge was great in the Ruthless Aggression era. I would probably agree with that. I'll be honest to say that the Ruthless Aggression era, to a certain degree, was when I watched the least. That was when I was in grad school getting my PhD, and yeah, it's just there we worked so much that I missed a ton of wrestling, and it was I watched the late '90s, early 2000s part of it where it was starting. But when you get into like Edge and a lot of those other guys, I wasn't watching as much. RVD would probably be my Ruthless Aggression era uh, big dude. I don't know why, but I was really, really into RVD. Yeah, that's cool, Giovanni. Stopped watching in 2010, huh? KC10154. Yeah, that's probably around. No, I was probably even a little before that, more like my college years, like 05, 06 was probably when I stopped watching. Sounds good, Giovanni. I'll catch you later. Happy New Year's. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it. But yeah, stopping, yeah, for me it was probably around 2005 when I took a break from it to a certain degree. And then Last couple years, 3 years especially, we've been really, really big into it ever since my son was born. So the last 5 to 10 years, especially, I've been watching again, and it's been a lot of fun. In 5 years, probably, it's been a lot of fun to watch what's happened with the at least latest of the new generation and getting a lot of the key people back. I think too, like CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, the storylines they've made with it, like it's it's been a lot of fun. I've especially enjoyed the WrestleManias over the last couple years. I've been collecting a lot of the figures related to them and making sure they get to the kids. 2002 through 2008. Yeah, those were pretty decent years actually from what I do remember. I can't remember a lot of the exact years and times when things happened. And it's funny, I'll look back at some of the figures like from the Monday Night Wars series, and when I see the figures from the Monday Night Wars series, I'll think that, oh, that happened in the 2000s, right? And it's like, wait, no, that was the 90s still. Whoa. Yeah, they had that. Exactly. Yeah, they did have this time in WWE where that's kind of why I dropped off too, is that it wasn't just that, I didn't have time anymore at all because of college, grad school, etc. But it just like the storylines were not good. The wrestlers needed a lot more development, and it just wasn't, hitting that same spot. But again, you get the right wrestlers, you get good writers and good storylines, and everything just kind of makes sense. It turns out to be a totally different product, and one that you're willing to invest a lot more into, both time and money wise. And actually, in my own collection, funny enough, that after it went downhill point, that's where my huge gaps are, and I don't ever plan on going back and filling those timelines in my collection. I have like kind of the late 80s, early 90s era, the new generation as they called it back then, with like, I got my Diesels up there, Ultimate Warrior, Dusty Rhodes, those kind of guys. And then, you're more getting into that ruthless aggression era where you got your Mick Foley or Steve Austin's. I got all my Undertaker stuff, Kane, um, The Rock, RVD, all those guys, Sandman, the ECW people, Cactus Jack, Terry Funk. That was a hell of a promotion, ECW. I really enjoyed ECW as a kid, still as an adult, watching back on YouTube. And then we got the modern era too, with like, I got Punk out, Cody, or not Cody Rhodes, he's in with the kids stuff. The Usos, the Mysterios, because of that father son one, which was an epic WrestleMania match. I'm still on the fence if I'm going to end up keeping those or giving them over to the kiddos as well. I'm kind of leaning towards giving that one for the memory's sake. We did watch that together. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But that's kind of how my collection goes anyway. But that little like space that you mentioned, KC154, totally missing in my own collection. So yeah, like I said, I just don't really. The Attitude Era officially was okay, 96 to 2002. So basically, right after the Attitude Era ended. That's kind of when it started going. The Attitude Era was, yeah, definitely the new generation and the Attitude Eras were probably the highlights for me, at least, still to this day as a wrestling fan. And yeah, just nostalgic feelings I get from watching those matches and pay per views, and trying to learn how everyone did everything in your living room with sketchy like pillows and stuff. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, we just we 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 enjoyed wrestling a lot. We'll just put it that way. But yeah, wrestling is one of my bigger loves and probably of the collection stuff I still have and am gambling on hoping to hold on to. It's about the largest at this point. It takes the biggest shelving space. With the next biggest sections of my collection being probably Star Wars. And I had a decent amount of Marvel, but I'm in the process of selling a lot of it and cutting back, and for both space and money reasons. And then I decided more or less on my Spider-Man shelf to just clear it and give it entirely to the kiddos and most of the X-Men as a memory, because they always played with those ones a lot, really loved the shows and the material. So I figured, if I have to part ways with some stuff anyway, they might as well get a lot of the really cool things. So but also some Star Wars stuff that they would like a little more than me, and trying to keep it more just in this escape pod area, change up a little bit of the shelving. As you can see back here, we got less crowding in the cantina, but we've added some characters and some people like the Mandalorian in winter gear right now because it's still Christmas time. Bosk and Greedo's moved around a couple times. Dr. Afra's gone because that one went to the kiddos. Let's see, Kurt Angle retirement match should have been against John Cena. That would have been interesting. Um, those are two. Those would have been a good match. I have Cena down here too. Speaking of which, the Ultimate Edition from this year. This was one of my favorite figures. Message alone, never give up. But interesting. Kurt Angle, John Cena. They were both hell of a wrestler. And Kurt Angle on his own, he's just so technically gifted because of his own Olympic experience. Then John Cena, you kind of compare or combine those two. I could see where that would be a really, really interesting retirement match. Speaking of which, who is Cena gonna be against for his retirement match in WrestleMania? Do you think is that known at this point? This well ahead of time, or obviously on their end it is writing, but does anybody have a clue who is John Cena gonna retire against? I would love to conjecture on that one. I don't know. Who's the right person? I feel like it's gonna end up being Cody Rhodes somehow or something like that, but I don't know. Ooh, actually, somehow Cena and Gunter. I don't know how the hell you would make that happen, but I could see that being really cool too, as like a John Cena retirement match. I don't know. Gunter is a really just cool wrestler. I like everything he's got going on. I did get the Imperium pack to review this year to match him until I decided to give him to my son, and then it's like, nah, yeah, sorry. We're just gonna give you Gunter and try to sell off the rest of Imperium because, yeah, I don't think that that would be appreciated by the other side, that I have to give the toys away to. Well, I don't have to, but I am, just because it's something that, again, let's say anything happens to Greedo's Goldmine that we haven't already faced hardship-wise, those are just gone anyway in the worst-case scenario. So I might as well make sure that, they go to the right people in the end. the kiddos who are supposed to collect them and learn to appreciate them over time in life. And, you know, it's just one of those things. This Pepsi is just too good tonight, and it's the only one I bought stupidly. So I know I'm going to be really, like, after I finish it, oh man, we need more Pepsi. I wish we had more. So, KC154, how's your New Year's Eve been so far? Is it past New Year's where you're at? I don't know, are you American viewer or one of my foreign viewers? I appreciate you all either way. Ah, the Legend Killer. Ah, that's a good one. Ooh, okay. Okay. Huh. Okay. So then does Cena has to win, right? In the end? Even though it is the Legend Killer, like I feel like Cena's one where I think he's got to go out with a victory, right? I don't know. Or maybe that's a legend that can't be killed. Huh. Now I'm like on a tangent thought altogether. You gotta love how lives can go, right? And this is only the second one I've ever done, but you know, that's fine and well. It'll be all fun in the end. I think a lot of these get more views after the fact just to see how stupid they were or stupid I was during the course of an actual whatever filming. Um, I like to do lives because you kind of get to practice your own being in front of the camera doing a one take. There's not really taking back life or live. You're there, it happens, and if you screw up you have to just go with it or quit altogether. It's one of those things. And yeah, keeping your focus, your train of thought is well different than a 30-second to 60-second review or even check-in time, unless I get one of those 30-minute long check-ins where something incredibly wild happened or whatever, and it's like, all right guys, I need to explain where I've been the last month, sorry about that. Or why aren't we reviewing more stuff? Well, you see, turns out, yeah, life, which again, it's been one of those wild things. I figured that's why we just go live tonight anyway, see who and how many people pop by, what's going on with everybody, and let you guys kind of lead the way, whoever's there, and otherwise just kind of talk about, the year as a whole. How was it? What was it? What were the highlights, good and bad, in general, and hoping for the better next year altogether based on how it's gone. But yeah, let's, I guess, yeah, we could go there and I'll just follow the chat and see what happens and what questions come up. But what was our highlights of the year? Well, a lot of it was collecting, because this year was one where unfortunately we learned that we have lupus and Sjogren's syndrome overlapping, which has created an immense amount of challenges physically. We spent most of the year on disability, actually, which was kind of the inspiration to do Greedo's Goldmine. And that's been another really, really key highlight, is just the community that's been built here and the interactions with everybody and the ability to review the collection and figure stuff that I'm really into, and the different properties like Star Wars, Marvel, WWE, etc. Kevin Conroy last performance of Batman Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 3 animated movie. I haven't seen that actually. I think I might have to. I am a huge Batman fan. Batman's one of them I loved since I was a kid. Batman was one that I remember getting a lot of from my mom as a child, like the figures, the Bruce Wayne Manor Batcave playset, Batmobile. I still have a Batmobile to this day, the McFarlane one I bought for that reason. So anything Batman, I'm pretty game to give it at least a fair shot. If it's good, especially, there's a good chance I might add something to my collection when the availability comes. Oh, Kevin Conroy passed away. Damn. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I honestly didn't know. I don't honestly know when a lot of people are born or die, it turns out. And yeah, I get confused at times, even with like pro wrestlers. Like, I remember, sadly enough, I saw the anniversary of Macho Man Randy Savage's death this year at one point, and it just didn't click in my head. I should have known that, like, yeah, he's been dead for ages now. Uh, yeah, I was like, whoa, Macho Man died today. That's really sad. Only to like then think, wait a minute, no, that's not right. He's been gone for quite a while now, isn't he? What? Then I went back and read again, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's right, anniversary. I just not awakened my mind at this point. Uh, yeah, Greedo's Goldmine. Our brain doesn't always function the greatest. It just depends on how the autoimmune stuff goes. And that's why, this place, when we did get to being on disability, um, and, kind of having to rework life, it became a really good, I call this my escape pod from a lot of the stresses that the physical health was bringing on, and a place where even when things weren't necessarily good, I could talk about it hopefully in a constructive way that people could at least learn from my own life mistakes, my own life's journey, um, and just learn from me what it looks like to have a lot of the illnesses and medical things that I have going on, and what that can do, and just the worst timing and situation if you don't have the right support structures there. And yeah, I mean, that's why, this place has just been ultimately an amazing community to start trying to build, so that we can be productive at least in our own life's mess. And then, a lot of this year was unfortunately messy as a summary. We did get divorced earlier in the year. The divorce itself was rather contentious. It was long and still drawn out to this day, even though it might be going in a more positive direction. Um, then we had the lupus flare up really big time, which is kind of limited what we can and can't do for work at this point. Then, the really big flare up caused us to go to jail. It turns out you can have neuropsychiatric symptoms of lupus. And if you're triggered in the right moments by the right things, and, I also have bipolar and CPTSD alongside of that, you can be in for one hell of a ride, thinking all kinds of stuff that is not reality whatsoever. And yeah, needless to say, if you don't have a support system directly around you, you can make decisions without having help that result in non-violent, non-weird charges, but charges nonetheless that land you in jail for a month under mental health watch. It's not fun at all, but it was one of the highlights negatively of the year, especially learning what it's like to be in a county jail, much less the mental health unit of the county jail. It was it was kind of a brutal place altogether. That's a fun one to talk about in some ways. Like, what is it like to be in county jail mental health unit? And basically, the short version is it's 24/7 lockdown, where you get sack breakfast and lunch, and then hot, hot in quotes. It was at one point hot dinner. The hot dinner varies per night and can be anything from just a shit ton of beans to like some pretty decent pastas where they'll like chop up sausage into them, or you actually get some variety of ground beef. Is it the best quality? No, not by any means, but is it at least meat? Um, Probably so. And there's protein in it regardless. um, but yeah, they would, dinner was all right sometimes. Thanksgiving was legit. There were just, sliced turkey with gravy, yams with this sweet glaze on them, canned cranberry, pumpkin muffin, and a salad. And yeah, that was about the best meal. But beyond that, it's like, yeah, they kind of give you random things every night. One night I made a mac and cheese burger out of a burger patty they gave me with two slices of bread and a side of mac and cheese with like coleslaw or something. I didn't put the coleslaw on it, but I did put mac and cheese, the burger patty, and that on the bread. And that was all right. That was one of my favorite jail meals. So that's a highlight. Hey, Connor, Wade Official, how you doing? Happy New Year's to you. We're just talking random highlights, good and bad, of the year at this point at Greedo's Goldmine. We're discussing jail food very briefly, being that we did have to spend a month in jail, unfortunately, which was not one of our positive highlights anyway. I don't recommend it. And if you ever have any neuropsychiatric problems out there, people, um, call an emergency ambulance 911. don't don't just follow your fantasies. Apparently, but even though that isn't always possible, that's a funny one when it comes to neuropsychiatric autoimmune disease and how it kind of triggers bipolar and CPTSD events. Like, basically, a random one that I may or may not have talked about at some point is that, like, 2017, my mom passed away, which over Thanksgiving, which is always a triggering thing about the holiday to begin with, and the holiday season being that she was so into Christmas, New Year's, etc. Um, and funny enough, when my own neuropsychiatric event happened, or lupus flare up again this time, it was right around that period. Oh, looks like we're gonna get a guest appearance. We do. He just busts through the door. We got Seamus, the mascot cat. Come here, Seamus, the mascot cat. Hey, Happy New Year, Seamus says. He's been finally back home too. That was another negative highlight of the year. Is Seamus during lockdown had to find a temporary home. He was given one at least, but we just got him back the other day, and we're hoping to keep him around as long as humanly possible this time, because we love Seamus, the mascot cat here. He's pretty much what we got left as family, on a day-to-day basis, physically around. I still have my kiddos and that, but I only get to see them once a week when that is allowed at this point, based on everything going on. And the timing of it all, and yeah, going to jail just really put a rail in everything. Financially, it took a hit. I got romance business type scammed during that whole time period. Hey, you don't need to mess with the figures and clear shelves. um, Somebody definitely took advantage of the fact that I was having neuropsychiatric symptoms, and funny enough, using the Greedo's Goldmine email that I have posted, they convinced me well enough at the time that they were somebody that they weren't, and that they were in a bind, and that they found me through this weird, it was connected to some Facebook business chat too, which was strange to me. But needless to say, they got me to believe to send them a significant enough amount of money before even being locked away that it was, yeah, it wasn't a good time, to say the least. Like I said, that was all negative highlights. Then we had our cat, mascot Seamus. He's over here purring, just looking up like, hey, they're talking about me on TV. um, but yeah, the car got impounded for like a month, which that was like another $2,500 to pull it out. And then, that also put a lapse in disability payments, which still needs fixed by the doctor next month, which has also led us to looking for other employment in the meantime, which we found some part-time options, but how they work out, and that is still yet to be seen. But yeah, and nonetheless, we try to survive as positively as possible. um, it's been kind of humiliating, the amount of family loans I've had to take out over the course of the year just to get by, and I'm eternally grateful to them at this point. But after, a while, it just becomes tiring, and you could either let it beat you, or you can just you know learn to roll with it, have some humor, and try to make the best of things, and live as normally as possible as long as you can. What are you looking at, Seamus? He's looking at me like he wants my chair, is what it is. Ultimately, he loves the chair that I use. It's just this standard wood IKEA one I've had for ages, that it supports my back pretty well, and anytime I get up from it or move, basically he ends up just running and taking it, and just starts to like rub all over it. Apparently it's a great cat scratcher. The Legend of Prince Rama. I feel like I've seen that maybe with my kids. It rings a bell, the title at least. I'll have to go back and look. But a movie that I want to watch in the next week or so, again, that I've found, except I think I might not have that anymore. But I was gonna watch Akira the other day. I saw it once, and it made zero sense to me whatsoever. But I remember just being mind blown by it. Like, this is absolutely amazing. And I know that's like a random tangent, but we were just speaking of movies and things to watch, and just, for some reason, Akira just came to mind. Seamus, how do we watch Akira? Are you like microchipped in a smart way that you can find things? No. I got no answer. Oh, that's funny. You gonna come back up onto the camera? He's giving me that look like, do I want to? Do I want to be famous? Yeah, you're not gonna be famous on this. This is our little live session, just seeing how long we can go before it all goes off the rails, huh, Kat? I guess so far so good. We get, there's fluctuating numbers of viewers here, between 1 to 7, so That's better than I thought in general. On a New Year's Eve, such a small channel, I really appreciate you all spending your time with me all together, especially, given what else you could be doing out there and watching the ball drop stuff, depending on where you're at. Like, it could be anything, but I just figured, why the hell not? It's New Year's Eve, on my end at least, being the whole divorce, custody arrangement, etc. I don't have anything going on at this point. My friends are pretty much out of my area, being that I got a PhD in chemistry years ago now, and basically the friends you have in a given area. I never left the area I got a PhD in, unlike a lot of my uh, compatriots or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, most of the time they just scatter around the world. So your best friends are never like physically there. And in my case, I also moved away from where most of my family is as well. So what was family to me was my kids and my ex-in-laws. And at this point, it's just me and the cat. So, we're just like, well, we could do absolutely nothing, or we could go live and just see what happens and just talk about the year at Greedo's Goldmine, whatever everyone else brings up, and kind of take it from there. I was hoping, that the hope is, and still you've done a great job on your end too, is just, helping me guide it by giving random comments here and there for me to just react to and interact with, that are just funny about the collection, about wrestling, about Marvel, Star Wars, even other stuff. Could be nanotechnology for all I care tonight, because that's something we actually do have in our pipeline, being that's what our PhD was relevant to. What are you trying to do, Seamus? He's going around the long way where you can knock down all the collection stuffs. You want to come up here? He's trying to steal my chair, find a way to kick me out of it. Come on up here. Come on. Come be famous if you want. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but this cat can purr like a horse. You want to come in? You want to come out? What do you want? You gonna go out? No? Yeah, you never know, cats. I don't think they even know what they want half the time. Ah, damn, that Pepsi was good. I don't drink a lot of pop lately since I've been out of jail, because all you get there is your occasional coffee with group sessions, various juices, milk, and chocolate milk. And so there's not a lot of fizzy drinks there. And if you're there long enough, you actually lose, to a certain degree, that sugar instinct and that carbonation instinct, believe it or not, where like the first week or so after coming out, all I drank caffeine wise was hot tea. I didn't have any coffee on me at the time, and that was part of it, but it was just hot tea, and that was like plenty good. But for some reason today, there was a Pepsi craving. Actually, we'll be right back. We got something for that one. Another random plug of the night as Seamus comes with me and we sneak out. I'm going back over that cat. As we had mentioned, our other free plug of the night, Almond Joys. These are going to be something we're going to snack on as we go. This is my mom's favorite candy, so again, for my own little ofrenda type things, this is something I always leave out, so cheers to that. Make sure we show. It's that idea of at least you've seen it to the world, right? There's evidence that, yeah, you really do this stuff. You're not just saying it. I say that jokingly. And everyone who knows me knows I've done that one for so long that, yeah, almond joys, those are something that, like, I'm going to actually struggle now that I've had access to sugar again. Not just pounding that whole thing. Like, yeah, ever since I got out, I haven't been drinking a lot of sugary drinks, funny enough. But when it comes to sugar in the other forms, like candies, cookies, etc., yeah, I've had my cravings for sure. So if there's a good deal on something, maybe I'll consider it. But yeah, like Christmas time, I had to buy the stocking candy. Yeah, I ended up buying myself 2 boxes of turtles because they were buy one get one free. I love those things. They're just so simple. Caramel, pecan, and chocolate over it. Or it could be better. Well, actually, ooh, there is a random candy that could be better, and I would love to review these things one day. Um, when I was a kid growing up in Chicagoland, there's a local candy store. I mean, they ship nationwide, but it's at least local to the Chicagoland area in terms of its origin. It's called Fannie Mae. And they had two things that were really good: mint meltaways, which were basically like a chocolate inside. What was it? Like a chocolate mint inside with like a chocolate green chocolate coating. Maybe the mint was on the outside and the chocolate was on the inside. Either way, mint meltaways anyway. And Trinidad's, which were basically, they had this chocolate inner like mousse type stuffing, and they were like a golden chocolate almost with coconut shavings inside of the chocolate itself. Oh my God, were those delicious. If I could find those somehow in a random grocery store and show off what they looked like, that would be one of my favorite things to do, is like review random candies from like around the world, being a sweet tooth myself. Where that will take some money and some GoFundMe, hitting up the GoFundMe by people. But if it happened ever and that kind of a miracle came in through the new year this month, I think that would be a lot of fun. Just try a bunch of old candies or the recreations of them, and even with somebody who remembers what it was like, to see how they would say it's different to this day. I don't know, maybe I'll try to figure out a way to do that, be more food centric where we can't necessarily be action figure centric, and then definitely still talk wrestling and what we're at least into or wanting to collect. Really though, collection wise, which is why I have little problem parting with a lot of the things that I have, is that short of like one or two figures as a whole, I pretty much had everybody I needed or wanted when it came to Marvel Legends. And even Star Wars Black Series, there was fewer and fewer I was getting after, especially getting the latest Yoda. That I've noticed that really I've only been collecting WWE stuff and the characters that either my son and daughter like of the modern era, or the ones that I liked of the new generation and attitude eras, that and even a little bit of the ruthless aggression era, I guess, with RVD. Yeah, that's what we were still collecting, and even that, like, I have so much that still to this day I think everyone is represented in my favorite outfit that they wore. So you know, yeah, I'm just kind of moving towards like I need Chameleon for Marvel Legends. Yeah, that one's definitely a must-have for me. And then trying to think, even on Star Wars, I would probably buy some Cantina aliens if I had the funds and they made them. But again, that would be a maybe at this point. Um, oh, I wanted Psycho Sid of the WWE Elite Target line in that Dusty Rhodes Ultimate, but I had to cancel those unfortunately. So yeah, that one's not going to work out so well either. Well, we'll see. Maybe that'll have to be aftermarket one day once everything's straightened out. But yeah, those were probably the last ones of the near future that I was really looking towards getting as well. So we actually had some success on a Jack's Disney Princess one that we did the other day. I think it was Rapunzel. They were a collection that my daughter was into. And basically just kind of did a 60-second review for you type format. Maybe it was even a full one. I don't remember at this point, but I could go back and do some of those perhaps, but it'd be fair to say we're not going to have too many of those anymore in the near future anyway. I'll be giving a lot of those back to my daughter to have where she's at these days as opposed to over here. And then, the dollhouse, which doesn't leave, they can just bring stuff back and forth as they need for the time to play. But, we're not going to get rid of any of the dioramas unless we have to for their sake. That's theirs. The wrestling rings are kind of with them in mind. Although I'd like to keep my Raw ring if possible. But we'll see. I do have a WCW Nitro ring that one has been theirs primarily. So whether it goes and stays, we'll see. But yeah, they do have a ring at least. We have so many figures. It's unreal. I've actually been sorting through them all in the process of figuring out what to get rid of, what to pass on, what to keep, um, what to sell. It's literally been like a several days out of my week kind of deal when I'm not doing other stuff that's necessary for life. I feel like we, finally have sold off enough, and that my apartment space has been somewhat reclaimed for the time being, although it's not 100% perfect. But it's, one of those things about being a collector you finally realize and appreciate after 5 years truly back into the hobby, and a childhood full of it too, which is I have a lot of my Star Wars stuff here from when I was a kid. um, you realize that there's just a lot after that amount of time, and that if anything goes wrong in life to the point where it has here, you really can't, you can't, it takes a lot of time and effort to do something with all that, we'll put it that way, especially in a way that's productive and everyone gets a fair deal out of it, and it doesn't, hurt anyone's feelings in the end. It's a delicate balance being a collector and doing it responsibly when you have to be. When good times are happening too, and you could be a little less, I suppose, than usual. Oh, Happy New Year, KC154. Well, it's a new year, right? I think the thinking or feeling different part comes on us. We have to be the ones that think or feel different. But I don't know. I've seen some little signs myself that some positivity might be coming, at least in terms of interactions with family and prospective employment situations, things like that have been positive and just seem almost time too good to be true. So we're gonna try to hope to think that the new year is gonna be a little different, but hopefully if it is different, it's different in a positive way for everyone as opposed to the weird ass year that was 2024. And that's not just in the life of Greedo's Goldmine. I feel like that's just in general. It was just a weird ass year as a whole, probably because of the election partly, but my goodness. So then KC154, you must be in the central time zone then, if I had to take my guesstimate, because it is now 10 p.m. and it would be midnight over there. And that means I need to jump off here so that I can give my dad a Happy New Year's call. And then actually, I might come back and do another part two of Greedo's Goldmine live on New Year's Eve, and then we'll just keep going until maybe midnight my time on the Pacific Coast here in Los Angeles area. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to do that real quick, and I have to leave you all. But I promise I'll be right back with a part two. Don't go nowhere. Well, or go somewhere. It's up to you, but we will be back.